Okay, so the tasks that I'd like you to do in order to prepare for the session on Tuesday and the 9th and Tuesday the 16th. So I need you to have a look at the DietComs training package. And just to briefly explain to you what DietComs is, it's a 20-item validated assessment tool for communication skills in dietetic consultations. And so it's gone through a lot of validation studies. And for this part of your course on communication and behaviour change, we are focusing on certain items. And those are the ones that are particularly involved with the beginning of the consultation, with meeting and greeting. So these 5 that you can see on the slide here: greetings and introductions, establishing what led up to the reason for the consultation, outlining what to expect from the visit, on that consultation, listening to and demonstrating understanding of the client's story, and establishing maintaining rapport. We're also going to look at items 15A and 15B, which uses active listening skills, and item 20 is about summarising appropriately throughout the consultation. So I'd like you to have a look at what we've called descriptors for these, and I'm going to explain those to you in a few moments. So there is one document that has a description for all of the different items, all in one document, with some examples from inpatient and outpatient type scenarios. And for each item on the DietComs training tool, there is a feedback sheet within the training package. Now, these are freely downloadable. They are 2 sides of A4, and what they're doing is giving you a more detailed description of what we might mean by, for example, greeting and introductions, and good practice, and some things that often go wrong. So it's giving you a broader description of what is going to be needed. Now, we're not going to do summarising until the 2nd week, so if you're running short of time, don't look at the item 20 feedback sheet until the 2nd week. So I've given you the links, but it's a good idea to actually explore the training package a little bit and get an idea of what is there, because there's perhaps more than most people realise. Whoops. So this is just an example of part of the descriptors document. So, and this is something we're going to really be focusing on in the workshop. We're going to be putting the skills that we're looking at into the structure of a consultation. And most of what we're focusing on is what I refer to as exploring the current scenario. So we're trying to find out what's going on for that patient, to meet and greet them appropriately and get the clarity of where we're going with that consultation. So you're going to greet the patient, check their identity. So we need always in practice to make sure we've got the right person. So not just check the name, because there are some names that are quite common, but also the address and the date of birth. We might welcome somebody into a room and suggest this is where you would like you to sit. Obviously, that's going to be different if you're approaching someone on the ward or if you are doing an online consultation of any kind. And we will look at those in a little bit more detail later on. But we are going to focus on kind of outpatient scenarios initially. We will obtain verbal consent to complete the consultation. And as a student, which you will of course initially be, this is my name. I'm a student dietitian. I'm being supervised by this dietitian here. Are you happy for me to take the consultation? So you're checking that that's going to be all right. What is that person's preferred name is a really important thing to check, not just assume. So are they feeling if you've, I don't say you've got me, Kirsten Whitehead, you might call my name in a waiting area, Kirsten Whitehead. But when I come in, you would say to me something like, what would you prefer me to call you? And I will just say Kirsten. But for some older people, they may prefer Mr. or Mrs. or Miss or whatever. It might be that people don't want to be called by their first name, or actually they have a nickname that they prefer to be called, a shortened version. But I would never assume that somebody wants a shortened version. If you refer to me as Kirsty, I will not answer. I hate it. Not I hate the name, but it's not mine. So you've got to really be mindful of those kinds of things. So checking what would you like me to call you? Is the patient, feeling well enough for that consultation to take place? So on a ward setting, you might be thinking about that. You introduce yourself. In an outpatient setting, you're probably going to say something like, we've got about half an hour for the session today. Is that going to be all right for you? People don't always know how long the session is going to be, and that's really important for them if they've got a car parking space, or they want to catch a particular bus, or they need to be somewhere. So it's just checking that we're on the same wavelength with those things. A little bit of small talk is really important. Now, some cultures don't like small talk, but actually, in most cases, just making a comment about how someone's journey was, or hasn't it been a beautiful day, or isn't it getting a bit chilly now, winter's coming, a safe subject. So it might be called small talk or safe talk, to make the patient feel more at ease. So we need to be friendly but professional, relaxed, and not rushed. If you rush this part of the consultation, you set off on a very negative direction. So I just wanted to, that's one of the first things we're going to be doing, but I also want you to have a look at the other items on the descriptions, the descriptor document, so that you can see, these are the other 4. There's a bit more information on the descriptors, so have a look at those. Make sure that you're familiar with what you would be doing at the beginning of consultation, because we're going to be focusing on the beginning part of it. Looking at examples, if you've got time, I'd really like you to go back to the videos of the outpatient consultation that we started looking at last week. But once you've looked at the skills and got that little bit more information, it's good to then go back and focus on that and say, right, okay, what's Kirsten doing here? And what's the impact of it? So in the video in sections of the outpatients, just focusing on the meeting and greeting, and these are only 2 or 3 minutes long. But if you look at particularly the bad and the good, but not perfect, you can look at the reasonable one as well if you've got time. So you're getting a view of, the different impact of poor skills, reasonable skills, and good skills. So make a note. Can you see minimal encouragers being used? Can you see verbal following being used? How is the patient reacting to that? Is there any paraphrasing? Is there any summary of what's happened so far? And none of these are perfect. But what I want you to be able to do is have a look and see, can I recognise when there's some verbal following there? Can I recognise the paraphrasing? Is there some reflection of feelings happening here? So hopefully when you have a look at those, the bad ones, you're not going to see much of that at all. But in the good one, hopefully you will see some examples of a much better way to meet and greet the patient, to establish what matters to them, to check time, their preferred name, and all of those aspects. And hopefully you'll then have a demonstration of what it is we're going to be practicing within the session. I hope that's helpful, and looking forward to seeing you in the session.